Pow! Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Going Over. This is episode 5. I am your neighborhood friendly coach, trainer, promoter, Zach Primetime Reeb. I just spit on my screen. There's a sty. Oop, it's always backwards. A sty in the eye, and I'm joined alongside my podcast colleague, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. Paul, what is going on tonight? And it is tonight.
Oh, it is definitely nighttime. Man, I got back from coaching a basketball tournament out of town. We decided when we started this podcast, man, we're all in, right? We're doing this thing. We got to set this schedule. We got to get these things done on a weekly basis. Because we didn't want it to be the just pop up and then all of a sudden, fly by night, here today, gone tomorrow podcast, man. We're going to be trying to knock out the 2 episodes every week. So we're trying to stay on schedule. So if that takes us doing a late night, after activities, that's what we're going to do, right?
That is exactly what we're going to do. We're busy, man. I know you got a busy 2025 coming up. I got a busy 2025 coming up. The really cool thing is we've just added shows that I don't know if it's going to show before this. It might even, we might even be able to get a graphic on this one, but every first and third Friday of every month, PCW Prospects is back. And we are going to get every single one of these young talent. We're going to get the young talent. We're going to get them in front of guys like myself, you. Hopefully we get the big ugly down there. Hopefully we get some other guys down there. There's going to be a lot of talent. My coach, everybody, hopefully we can get them down there. We can get some of this young talent in there, and we can really start working on some things. So far, so well with this.
Right, exactly. So I feel like it's just been, I guess for me, it's been like this humbling experience. So you always have this, it's like a big question mark, right? Is what we're trying to accomplish going to be interesting enough for people to listen to, right? And so far, man, it's been like I said, the only thing I can say is humbling, right? So it's been amazing to see the feedback that we've been getting so far. People seem to like what we're doing. I'm seeing comments of people, pointing out specific to stuff that they like. I know you said you've been getting personal messages. I've also been getting personal messages. People are asking questions about other topics too. Like, hey, I think it'd be really cool if you guys talk about this or, whatever. And I think it's like, we have so many different directions that we can go. And I think on top of us giving kind of our insight on the wrestling business, I think we've talked about we want to start critiquing matches, right? Give people the opportunity to send in matches that they'd like to give us, or that they want us to give an honest critique on, right? And this is all for the betterment of the business, right? This isn't to knock people down or to necessarily put people over, right? This is us watching matches and giving honest critiques, right? So that's something that I think we're looking forward to, right? Getting people to send in matches so we can give those critiques. And I think, granted, we're not going to look at wrestling the same as everybody else, right? We had this conversation yesterday about old heads or whatever, versus kind of the new style of wrestling, with I think, in our opinion, maybe not as much of a fight realistic style product, right? A lot more theater choreograph, flippy, plan it out in the back, not necessarily listening to the crowd to dictate the direction of the match, right? So talk a little bit about that.
Well, wrestling's about making money first and foremost. And WWE right now, that's exactly what they're doing. They're about content. They're about making money. They're about keeping the guys safe because they've got a lot of value out there. They got a lot of money invested in talent, and we'll get into that down the road. But pro wrestling is always and forever will be with ratings and what people are watching. They're watching the stories, man. They're watching psychology, and the storytelling of the match, which all those things are different things, which we will get into. And today's the first day that we're going to critique a match, but it's not the first time that we've critiqued a match on this show. We've had a couple podcasts, and I believe in talking with a couple people and talking with you. Some of these matches, and some of them were one was one we picked. And then one was just a random match we picked, and one was a match that was sent to me. And I think the general consensus of it, we were kind of like, man, we had a lot of positive feedback on it, but we also had some negative feedback. And we are in a sensitive world where a lot of people can't handle criticism, even if there's some positive criticism after that. So I felt like a great place to start, because we're looking for guys. We're looking for guys out there that want an honest critique, and we're looking for you to send us your matches to get an honest critique. Not just we're not going to be a dick, man. We're just going to point out what's really going on with this. So I thought a great place to start is with something of our own, and PCW, Off the Chain. A couple of my students, Rayshawn Prince, he calls himself the National Treasure, and he's been in the business a little over 3 years. I'm very high on the guy. And from the dudes, the Arsonist, man, who's also my trainer right now at Primetime University, a guy who's lost over 100-something pounds, and they wrestled it Off the Chain. And I felt like this is a good one to just go in and critique, good or bad, and start with that. And hopefully people can see and say, hey, man, I got some good insight from Primetime and the Wrecking Ball, Primetime and Paul about this. So, without any further ado.
Right. So I want to kind of preface this with, you and I were both watching this match live, but give us kind of a timeline. What was the date of this show? So we can kind of reference that based off of when it is right now, right? So this is going to be, we're in December right now. When did this show happen?
October 5th.
October 5th. Okay. So we saw this, weeks ago, at least, or maybe over a month ago. So I don't remember exactly how it was, but yeah, October 5th is when this match happened. So we'll jump right in here.
Get your stop buttons ready, ladies and gentlemen, because that's the way we do it.
Ready.
What's your formula? Because we're gonna pluck it apart.
All right, sounds good. So
there we go.
All right, so I'm looking based off of this.
Sounds on this contest.
It looks like Rayshawn Prince, babyface, Arsonist.
There's nothing on the screen.
Actually excited for this match.
Some might say that this is.
We're having some technical difficulties.
No, we're not having technical. This is just me forgetting what we're.
Oh, you were down to business. Oh, there. Where are we? Where are we? Look at that position right there of Rayshawn Prince.
He's getting ready to throw some punches. Okay, so we as the match started, Rayshawn's getting the crowd behind him. Arsonist had his hands over his ears.
Almost a contest
That's
for
what we
who
want.
is the future of PCW. Both of these men, products of Primetime University, putting in hard work in their bodies in the ring.
They lock up and they push each other off.
Surprisingly, Rayshawn overpowering the Arsonist. You would think Arsonist would be working the power game here. Arsonist is accepting the challenge.
Lock locking up again, dead center of the ring. Rayshawn Prince trying to push the Arsonist back into the corner, and Arsonist
So let's take a
overpowers
quick
the
pause on
national
that real quick,
treasure.
Paul.
All right.
There's the screen.
Jump back into getting down to business here. All right,
I noticed we're not on the side screens either on that when
got it. Okay, well, I'll definitely, if you want to do that, I can do that.
if
Yeah,
not,
so I mean, if you want it in that screen, I'm good with that. If you want it to be just so everybody can see the action and we're kind of behind the scenes.
we're good. I think we're good the way we're doing it.
Okay,
because,
perfect.
we're
All right,
gonna come back
so
here.
some quick feedback, right? So I just mentioned that I thought as they started the match, Rayshawn was kind of getting the crowd to get behind him a little bit. They were clapping for him. Arsonist just looked like he was irritated by the crowd clapping and going crazy, right? He didn't want to hear it. So a little critique on that first part, right? So we had Rayshawn shove Arsonist off like he was stronger. Now Arsonist shoves Rayshawn off, and Rayshawn takes a big bump. So,
and that's the story. That's the story you were sitting at that table too. That Doc's trying to tell there is that the basic story of this one so far we know from the commentary, which a very good job from the commentary. And from the first thing is Arsonist showing that he's stronger. He's more powerful than Rayshawn Prince. They locked up. They both kind of had a even shuck off. The Doc got that over on commentary. And then Arsonist has thrown Rayshawn Prince ass over tea kettle across the ring, showing that he is the stronger man. Let's roll that footage.
All right. Back at it.
Back at it.
All right.
Advantage that you were talking about right there. I think he just needed to get his feet under him, gather his face.
The Arsonist knows what a win over Rayshawn Prince could do to his career. So those butterflies have got to be going 10 times as hard tonight.
Absolutely, a victory over the longest reigning Inter-California champion with a tied record with Rick Lundry of 12 successive title defenses.
All right, let's pause that real quick, Paul.
The buzzer.
Well, the buzzer's been hit. It was just what we were talking about. Commentary once again is doing a great job of getting that over, pointing out the fact that for Arsonist, this is a big victory if he can beat the longest reigning Inter-California champion of all time. I believe this is Arsonist's first real singles match on a major show. But it was just like I was saying, commentary's getting over the strength thing. They were kind of even in this. And then Arsonist, obviously the stronger person, has shucked Rayshawn across the ring. And the reason I stopped it right here, and we'll get back to the action, I just wanted to point out to you, Rayshawn Prince has just thrown Arsonist across the ring, which is something I talked to both these guys about. But that's a big no-no in this, because Rayshawn is showing off his he's going to show off his speed and his athleticism in the story and psychology of this. And Arsonist he's just thrown Arsonist, the bigger man, across the ring. So too early right now. There is going to come a point in a contest like this that the smaller man can show his power. That was not when it was supposed to happen right there. So
right. So probably you're just saying like it doesn't make sense at that point to do that. Is that kind of what we're?
Yeah, not for Rayshawn to throw him off. For commentary to get this over, that it's the power versus the speed game is great. The whole Inter-California Championship, everything the commentary is putting over right now is building the story where it needs to go. The even shuck off was great. Arsonist throwing his Rayshawn's ass across the whole ring shows that story of the power. But Rayshawn, this early on in the contest, throwing the Arsonist back across the ring. Now, maybe he slips in a little quick arm drag or collar and elbow drag or something just to show his speed and his quickness. So
Right, almost using Arsonist's power against him, right?
correct.
Okay, all right. So let's jump back in there.
Showing that Rayshawn, even though he has the power and the speed, or the agility and the speed, he also has the power to back everything up.
Look at how vulgar this kid is with the crotch thrust. Disgusting.
The Arsonist has had enough of this. Kick to the gut, doubles over the National Treasure, and a big club to the back. Oh, Doc, and I've been on the receiving end of those deadly forearms. They obviously don't tickle. Oh, a chop to the chest stops Arsonist dead in his tracks. Blocks turnbuckle, and he pushes off the National Treasure, catches him and slams his head into the corner.
Ooh, knife edge chop right there. That does not feel good to either party. Sometimes that'll skin your own hand.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. That's Rayshawn Prince delivering a chop of his own.
Straight out of ice hockey right there.
The Arsonist isn't playing around anymore. He's just going after Rayshawn Prince.
Rayshawn Prince is going to have to match the savagery as well as the power of the Arsonist.
One thing the Arsonist has above, a double drop kick. And look at the agility by Arsonist.
Well, let's stop this right here.
All right, so what are you feeling right there?
Well, I like what happened at the end. I mean, they stayed. Obviously they stayed with each other. It didn't look perfect. What I liked about that was it actually didn't look perfect. It kind of looked like a struggle and a real fight on something that would really happen. You know, he pulled the bigger man's shirt up and gave him a reverse knife edge chop back, and Arsonist pulled his shirt down and was frustrated. He was angry about that, and he grabbed Rayshawn up and took control of him. Like I said, it didn't look perfect, but what I loved at the end of this is that we're telling the story of power versus speed. And after the seated drop kick by Arsonist, he nips up to his feet, and
Right, exactly.
He's showing his athleticism.
Absolutely. I'll add a little bit to the struggle, right? I always appreciate, realistically, if you've ever been in a fist fight, most likely you're not going to hit a guy clean, right? So a lot of times when you hit a guy, it might actually hurt your hand, right? You could break your hand on somebody's face or whatever. And so I like sometimes when people register that, right? Register that hurt. I did hit him with a clean shot, right? Because very rarely do you hit somebody with a super clean shot, and I would like reference UFC. Every once in a while, the guy hits him with a clean shot. But a lot of times, especially in a hand-to-hand, bare knuckle type situation, you might punch somebody in the head and hurt your own hand, right? So I like a little bit of register with that. I don't like it to be like clockwork, right? Every single punch you throw, you're like, that hurt. That hurt. Like, because that doesn't make sense, right? Why would you keep punching a guy with a hand that you're hurting as a result? Like, why would you not do a different strike, right? Hit him with the forearm, whatever, elbow, or something along those lines. So I definitely like a little bit of register, but not so much where it's like, it doesn't make sense why you'd hit him again with a hurt hand. All right, we'll jump back in this.
Snap back as he hit the bottom turnbuckle pad right there.
Screw that kid. Did you see the Arsonist go Kemper? That was amazing. You would think Rayshawn Prince would be showing off with kickbacks like that.
Now Arsonist choking Rayshawn. Rayshawn Prince across the middle rope, breaking it up at 4.
He's really pushing the boundary of the rules here. Choking the
So
first,
stop that right there real quick.
his neck is laying on. Maybe.
All right, so I have just based off conversations we've had in the past, I have a pretty good idea the things that you're going to say. Let me see if I can beat you to the punch a little bit.
Beat me to it, Paul.
That's right. Using the ring as a weapon, right? So not against the rules to throw a guy against the rope. So obviously it's not against the rules to put a guy leaning on the rope and put some body weight on the back of him, right? Trying to inflict some damage, right? The referee's not counting because you're cheating. The referee's counting because you're in the ropes, right? And then obviously kicking that cable rope into the guy's neck, also not illegal, but it's one of those things where you look at it as a heelish thing because it's a dickhead thing to do, right? It's just like salt in the wounds. So anything else that you would add to that?
I enjoyed what he did with Rayshawn's arms being draped over the rope. It's no longer a choke. He's not choking him over the ropes, first off, and kicking that rope into him. It's not across the throat because he's not choking him. But most importantly, when we're talking about referees and abusing the counts and the rules and everything else, I was talking to my coach last night, and I had brought up like kicking the rope in the guy's nuts, and he's like, "No, the punch is illegal. It's illegal to punch somebody in professional wrestling." And these warnings from the officials and stuff like that, breaking on the count. The reason we have the rules in professional wrestling is so that when the rules get broken, they generate their own heat. We can use the referee and the referee's rules and discretion to generate heat from the audience saying, "Hey man, that's the fans start to go, that's bullshit. He's in control right now because he abused the count and the referee let it, and the audience can what's the word I'm looking for? They can identify with that. They can relate to that." So yeah, very, very good on that. And I wanted to point that out, that very good usage of the ring right there as a weapon.
All right.
Not illegal, but definitely that is just mean
And very unsportsmanlike. Now Arsonist having a headlock locked in on Rayshawn Prince, middle of the ring.
kind of an awkward presentation here. Normally you would try to get this guy seated and so you can put more pressure and more weight on him, but as what Rayshawn is standing up, it's relieving some of that pressure.
Oh, and a jawbreaker.
Give him a jawbreaker.
Rayshawn Prince catches him, delivers a forearm shot, and another, banking him into a corner. Now, whip off the rope. Picks him up, and body drop.
Rayshawn Prince struggled a little to get the big frame of the Arsonist over and over, but he managed to do it. I gotta say, I'm impressed.
Forearm shot knocks the Arsonist back into the corner once again. Oh, and you can hear the bass behind that knife edge chop.
A lot of meat getting slammed here.
Blocks the foot, blocks the second foot, goes for an injury. Second one finally brings the national treasure.
All right, let's stop this real quick.
Incredible Arsonist, bro.
So right there with Arsonist. Yeah, I'm gonna let you go, but did you see he has cut the man off, and he's utilizing the camera to get what we love to call the money shot. Go ahead, Paul.
Right. I mean, I was gonna say, like, I started almost thinking like Rayshawn isn't registering and selling the little beating that he was getting, and then I kind of changed my opinion, because then it's like you go for the backdrop and it's like just he barely gets him over
And he
because
sold
he
it.
was hurt, right? Because he was hurt from the beating that he was getting, and then as soon as that the little burst of adrenaline, he's back to selling again, and then obviously kind of walks into where he thought, upper hand, I caught the foot, and then walks in, gets a boot like that with the insecurity there.
What I loved about it was it's exactly what you just said, and that's the emotion we're trying to get, because we follow these formats so much. So if you notice, it almost looked like Arsonist had cut Rayshawn off when he was utilizing the weight on the rope and kicking it in him, because he had stopped him over there. So it almost looked like that was already the cutoff. And then when he snatched up, what I heard you in the video say was a unique way to put that reverse chin lock on. The audience, if you notice, where's my hands? You notice Rayshawn doing this, and the audience is clapping. So he's hearing the noise of them clapping. So he hits that jaw jacker, and we get a little bit of movement with the crowd. And then he gets that backdrop on Arsonist where he falls into the ropes, not just to sell what was happening to him, but to sell the fact that this is a bigger, stronger man. And it took everything that he had to muster him up to get him over for that backdrop. And then Arsonist once again uses his athleticism to cut Rayshawn Prince off. So you almost think he's cut off, and then the audience starts making some quick noise. Rayshawn, wise enough to listen to the audience, and both guys smart enough to give us a little bit more action before they get to their cutoff. So what I'm thinking here, because I know these guys, I preach to go out and listen to the audience and work. That was just a fine detail of a couple young guys that have been in the business 2 or 3 years that really work hard at. They had that cutoff, obviously, right? Obviously they have that cutoff, but they heard the audience making some noise, so they knew they could get a little bit more out of that crowd. That was beautiful. That was actually beautiful.
Right, exactly. So you have that something that you think, hey, this could be a cut up that we could use in this match, and then they found a good spot to stick it in right there. So good job by those guys right there.
Extending the work a little bit and
Right.
listening to the audience.
Perfect.
Oh, look at that mean mug.
Right.
I'll cut you off.
Like a wood chop.
His speed and his agility have been something unmatched in Primetime University. And it amazes me every time I see it.
Boy, I gotta tell you, Arsonist, the more I see him, championship material with moves like that.
Pause that real quick.
He goes for a lackadaisical cover.
So even Buck said it at the end right there too.
Right.
So commentary's just putting this story over. He said the speed and agility of the Arsonist, which has been unmatched at Primetime University, and it impresses me every time. And then speaking of basics and fundamentals, he puts a couple good stomps on Rayshawn, letting Rayshawn sell at this point, and letting commentary get him over. He let the commentary get him over. Buck James literally just put him over with his speed and athleticism, unmatched at Primetime University. I'm still impressed by it. And then notice he uses something so simple. We see so many running sentons. We see so many rolling, flipping land on the guy. He literally used a textbook heel bump off of one leg to senton and knock the air out of Rayshawn Prince before, like Buck said, a lackadaisical cover. I mean, commentary's putting this over. They're telling the story, and these guys are giving them time to tell a story about them.
Absolutely. I'll add also, I like when the guys turn up the intensity a little bit, right? It's almost like Arsonist is like pissed off that Rayshawn got a couple of offensive like a little hope spot in there, right? And he's kind of showing the audience like he's getting the frustration is building. Like this guy's fighting back, and I'm trying to keep him down. A couple of those stomps with a little bit of aggression behind them, just ramps up the intensity a little bit more each time. So hopefully, I would hope that continues to build, right? You're like, you keep fighting back. I'm gonna up the tempo a little bit, and I'm gonna keep you down. So hopefully that's what's going to continue.
We're cut down. It's cutoff time now. The heat's on. Let's see if the national treasure Rayshawn Prince. Let's see what he's got in the tank.
Right.
2 and kicks out at 2.
You're never going to hit a guy like that. You gotta put all your weight in that lateral press over his shoulders. Otherwise, he's going to kick out just like he did right there.
You're definitely right on that one. Putting all the weight on the shoulders, and if he's going to kick out, make sure he uses all that strength to push you off.
Absolutely.
Whip off the ropes, picks him up, reverses it. Arsonist grabs him, hip toss. Grabs him again. Oh my God, that power! Picks him up. Scoop slam.
It almost looked like Rayshawn was going for some sort of armbar right there, and Arsonist countered it with a body slam.
Countered it with brute strength alone.
Bad intentions here. Oh, Rayshawn will be icing his marbles for a couple weeks. Maybe it's bring what he did with that from Aruba.
Let's go ahead and pause that right there.
Kick to the head brings the national treasure down.
Let's go ahead and pause that right there.
Right.
Just a prime example, man. And we think everything has to be perfect. Oh, look at this beautiful counter by the Arsonist. Locks, they get connected together. He hits a very nice high hip lock takeover. Boom. And then Rayshawn kind of jumps in for something like you mentioned in the commentary. Arsonist catches him, and he stays with him. He shows that power by what if this was something that we had planned and it wasn't smooth and it messed up? Do we bail out on? No, man. I'm going to show my strength. I'm going to hang on to you. I'm going to give you that big body slam. And then kudos to Rayshawn Prince. I talk about guys not selling the classic low blow or the kick to the nuts or anything like that. And Rayshawn Prince right now took that double leg down into the groin area, and it looked like it could have stretched like a banana splits, but he's really doing a good job of selling that maneuver. And then Arsonist just gives him just a solid kick right to the head.
Right. And then it looks, as we come back here, it looks like Arsonist right back to messing with the crowd a little bit, right? It's one of those things like, this is the guy that you're cheering for, right? And I'm beating him up right now. And I'm going to let you know. And it doesn't even have to be a verbal thing. It's just that look, right? You're looking at the crowd. Maybe you pick somebody out that you're going to try to engage with in the crowd. And you're going to work with that guy because that's going to help the audience kind of spread a little bit, right? You're antagonizing somebody else, and then the other fans are going to kind of come to the rescue and try to cheer against him, and that's how you get more of the crowd engaged rather than just being so focused on what's the next move coming up, right?
Keyword next. What is the next thing?
All right, let's jump back in here.
Lots some sense into the young punk Arsonist.
The knee buried in his back. He's pulling that chin. He's really trying to take all the air out of Rayshawn Prince right here.
And now Rayshawn Prince trying to fight out of it. But with that iron grip, it's hard to fight against the Arsonist. Elbow to the gut. A second one finally breaks it. Arsonist gets him in another one. Back suplex by Rayshawn Prince.
It's really only counter you can get right there. Try to swing your hips out to the side, use his momentum against him, drop him on the back of his neck.
And that takes explosive power.
Both wrestlers finally back to their feet. Rayshawn Prince catches Arsonist. Arsonist catches Rayshawn Prince. Now this is just a fight.
A knockdown, drag-out fight for sure. Two of the best in PCW going toe-to-toe here.
Two of the best, two of the up-and-coming brightest superstars in PCW. Breaks him down with the clothesline.
Here we go.
Arsonist is back up. And is smacked with his elbow. Hits him up with his own scoop slam.
Arsonist is reeling. He's in shock over the surprise explosive power. Oh, up and over.
Arsonist trying to backdrop him out of the ring. They walked right into a kick to the chin.
Now Rayshawn Prince going up to the high red district off the top rope. Missile drop kick brings the Arsonist down.
We'll see if he can capitalize on it, though. Wait a minute, what's he doing?
He's not going for a cover here.
He's calling for the go to sleep.
I think he's making a big mistake right here, not going for a cover.
Absolutely, you want to capitalize when you got a man down on the mat. Can't even get the Arsonist up.
Arsonist trying to reverse it. Delivering elbows to the kidney region off the rope. Hits him with that twisting forearm.
All right, let's stop that right there.
All right, so I feel like a lot to digest right there.
Lot.
So what's your first thought on that, and then I'll jump in and I'll kind of give you what I saw from my perspective as well.
Well, it was a good back and forth. And then it looked like Rayshawn was picking up some steam to build his comeback. And I but I always say that. Fuck. Rayshawn got way too much movement and way too much offense in there. You know, the little tip up over there, and then he got the kick over the rope, and then he got the big missile drop kick. So all that should have been scratched, and that should have been moved when he actually made his comeback. The mini comeback on your feet, duking it back and forth is fine, but that European uppercut he hit, that should have came after Rayshawn gets the better of the exchange, and he fires up and digs to the crowd. Whether he hits the ropes or whether he comes just running at him for something, and Arsonist shuts him down. So he gave him too much off. There was too much offense for that not to be the comeback.
Absolutely. So, and I was going to kind of say the same thing. Like, I would much rather see a little bit more of, if you're going to start kind of building a little bit like that, I'd still like to see more selling of the ass kicking that you were just taking over the last couple minutes. So it doesn't look like you just went 0 to hero in that little stretch, right? I can see a little burst of adrenaline, right? Getting you fired up where you hit something, boom, real quick, but kind of go back to selling a little bit. That way, it does two things, right? It makes sure that the guy that you're working with doesn't look like all that work that he just did was weak. And it also shows like you're still vulnerable, right? You're still selling to get over all that stuff. Yeah, and you're not a Superman. So that's kind of my 2 cents in that little piece.
And that missile drop kick, that's too big a move to go up top and hit. So right. Crotch him, you know what I mean? Strut him on the top, or move out of the way. Don't let him hit.
Sure.
That's something he should hit as the pinnacle of his comeback for a near fall, or something that he should hit in the near fall, when they exchange him at the end.
Sure. Makes sense. All right, let's jump back in here.
Goes for the cover. 1, 2. Then he kicks out at 2.5.
Rayshawn's got to be thinking back to that time he didn't try to cover him. Now it's kind of working against him right here. Couldn't get him up. Slipped out the back door. Now he's on his back looking at the lights, trying to recover.
Larson is spilling blood in the water. Look at confidence on his face.
Charge to the corner. Met with an elbow or a shoulder, driving all that air out of his sternum.
I love that these guys are giving you guys time to tell the story, man.
A little too much right there.
Here we go. Tornado DDT.
If this was a cartoon, there'd be stars circling over his head.
2. Kick out at 2.5.
All right, so let's stop that right there.
Oh, good.
So this is a little different from when I remember watching it and giving him some critique before. I had thought that the tornado DDT was the pinnacle of the comeback. So I had said, you know, if you're going to hit that tornado DDT in the pinnacle of the comeback, you got to jump on that cover for the 1, 2, 3 right away. So it's a near fall. So let's continue to watch. But I just wanted to correct myself in some critique that I gave those guys, because Rayshawn built such a big comeback with the tip up and the kick and the missile drop kick, and then we've hit this tornado DDT. So let's see if he's using that as him getting his momentum back. Was that enough to put Arsonist down to start building his momentum towards the end?
Right, and I would almost argue that if you hit that big move after that, maybe you sell down a little bit longer, right? Yeah. So I was going to ask if you would have critiqued it differently now that you see the sequence now. Would you agree with that? Maybe I double down right there.
No cover at all. No cover.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Like it was a desperation move, and almost, you know, maybe it knocks you a little bit loopy as well, right? Because you're not able to brace yourself enough to just DDT him. You kind of, you know, bang your head on the mat as well. So,
yes, sir.
All right, let's see where it goes from here.
Pure instinct on Arsonist's part to kick out. He still looks very dazed.
And now Rayshawn Prince going up to the top rope once again.
High risk.
Frog splash, but it's met with the knees of the Arsonist.
Obviously, Arsonist definitely scouted that move, knew that was coming. Probably was playing a little bit of possum right there, luring him in.
Well, Rayshawn Prince rolled the dice and came up snake eyes.
Goes for clothesline, catches him. 1, 2, kicks out at 2.
Desperation crucifix roll up.
Oh, he's met with the knee.
Job.
Kicks him up. Go to sleep. Goes for the cover. 1, 2, 3.
Arsonist almost got to kick out right there. Rayshawn just fell on him with his body weight. Luckily,
All right, let's shut this one down. So I'm glad we went back and watched that.
Absolutely, yeah, because I definitely remember it differently.
Me too.
Yeah, and I feel like right after the match, I gave him the critique that we kind of gave him at the beginning, right? That we didn't think that it should be each guy shoving the other one down, right? I just was like, if we're going to tell a story of quickness versus power, then one guy needs to be more powerful at the beginning, and the double shove down kind of eliminated that, you know, that story, you know, for the time being, right? It did make sense to me that they would both shove each other down, almost canceling each other out when you're trying to say this guy's more powerful, this guy's quicker. what do you think? I'm almost thinking just what you've said so far, that you're thinking that that big series should have kind of been um, culminated with the go to sleep there at the end. Is that what you're thinking, or are you thinking something a little bit different?
The way that one finished, yes, I have a couple scenarios that if I'm going to tell somebody at the end there. So that tornado DDT, I feel that missile drop kick should have been missed.
Okay.
And more heat should have been put, Arsonist should have dug more heat, really gone into the audience more, and Rayshawn should have really sold the shit out of that. So I feel like then they build the comeback for Rayshawn, which I felt like there was no actual comeback in the contest. He bumped him around a little bit, which Arsonist after the second bump really didn't bump up and feed for him quickly. So it kind of cooled the comeback down, which they never got the crowd into it to go home. So I feel like if he misses that missile drop kick and then Arsonist really starts putting the heat, we're at that point in the match where if we build the audience up, then Rayshawn can hit that tornado DDT, and then now they're down. Now we're down, double down, whatever you want to call it. We get that crowd going, and then he's bumping him a little faster of a bump and feed for Arsonist. And then Rayshawn could have culminated with hitting that missile drop kick, popping up to his feet. I'm going to put this motherfucker to sleep. Counter, Arsonist, no, back up, go to sleep. We go home at that point.
Sure. So if that's the case, you hit the missile drop kick. What would you say the justification for not covering him right there, versus you said like almost like waiting for him to sell up for the go to sleep? Would you say like you would advise the guys like, all right, let's hit that missile drop kick. It's a big move, but maybe as he takes the bump, he rolls maybe into the corner, and then can sell up almost like back turn, feed right into it? No.
So Arsonist shows his athleticism early on by hitting that nip up.
Right.
That is the pinnacle of Rayshawn's comeback. So he finally hits that missile drop kick, and he's on the ground for a second, and then he throws it back at Arsonist, and he nips up to his feet and shows that adrenaline burst right there, gets the crowd pumped up, and he says, now it's time for this guy to go nighty-night. Picks him up, counter, move. Oh, no, I almost had him. It was close. Now I pick him up to go to give him my move again, counter, go to sleep, falls on top. He's completely exhausted. 1, 2, 3. Right. And Arsonist threw his arms up at the end like he was gonna like he was gonna kick out at 3.
Right.
It's the guy's finish, man. Don't even
it should be a knockout blow, right?
Knockout blow. It's yeah.
Absolutely, man. That makes perfect sense. So I guess, man, that's so crazy to me. I mean, I don't know exactly how long that match was, but I'm thinking it's 8 to 10 minutes, right? And somehow we find ourselves in this position again, 48 minutes deep. We always kind of joke about that, right? Hey, we're going to keep this to an hour. And I'm thinking to myself as we start this match, like, there's no possible way we're getting to an hour with a 10-minute match. But I feel like just the way that we let it flow a little bit, stop it, critique it, and I'm really enjoying the fact that, as much as we're on the same page a lot, that we can kind of share our ideas of how this should have went. And even if it's not the same, I feel like it's a learning experience for me, for me as well. Like how things go in your mind, how you would put together things, and hopefully in the long run, this is a great opportunity for us to kind of reach out to, if it's guys in our community in the NorCal, Nevada scene, or if it's people that are watching this somewhere else in the United States or overseas, that it gets a little bit of insight on the way that we think about how sequences should be put together, why things make sense, why things don't make sense, how we would structure things a little bit differently. And I think like for our own character, it's going to be different from suggestions that we would give to these guys, because just because somebody trained with you doesn't necessarily mean everything that you teach them, all of your the ways that you think about psychology is exactly how they're going to put things together. Obviously, we want to give these guys kind of just a base, and we want to let them put their own spin on things. So we can have these discussions. We've talked about car rides and things like that, and how we, like we like to throw out a topic and go around the car and let everybody pitch in and their insight. So we kind of know, like, if you get into the ring with this guy, the way that they process things and the way that they look at how sequences should go together as well. So I feel like we're hopefully we're not only helping other people, but I feel like I'm getting something out of this as well. What about you?
Oh, same. That match right there, like that. When I gave him the critique, I gave him pretty much the same, except for some reason when I followed the end of this thing, I followed it differently. Maybe I sped through the match a little. Maybe I moved that little button, streamed it across the screen. But that right there, with those guys putting that together with the amount of time that they've been in the business, it's very good. And there's something said about that match that as that one goes on the road with the proper criticism and the proper changes, and it don't have to be the exact changes that we said. That's just what I saw. That's just
Of
what
course.
you saw. But for that, I look at that and I go, what it tells me is, as promoters, and we run into this situation many times, and I see it at a lot of shows. I go to a lot of indie shows too. I think as promoters, we need to be more hands-on with talking to these guys about what's going on and what they're doing. And we say it all the time when we're sitting in the locker room. We go, hey man, go around and ask everybody what they're doing. Is anybody doing this? Hey, what's your finishing move? Hey, this is this guy's finishing move he's winning with tonight. Nobody else finish anybody with this move. As a matter of fact, nobody else do this fucking move, because this is what this guy is winning with here tonight.
Right.
So I mean, when we look at that, that's just that's just a simple my bad on my part, because I need to have the time so I can go up to those guys, not to put their match together, but just to say like, hey, what are you guys feeling in tonight? You're going to go around this amount of time. And I think that's the thing. If you look at that match right there, it looks like they were going by a time, and they weren't going just by working the audience. So I look at that and say, as the promoter too, as the coach, as the promoter, maybe I did put a time on that match. Maybe I told him, hey, you're restricted to this time. As a matter of fact, I think the pre-show match that was supposed to go like 5 minutes, I think it ran long, and we started the show late. So I told those guys they need to keep it under 10 minutes, which is a perfect. I mean, that was perfect actually, because that shows you exactly right there. It looked like they were rushing some of that stuff and getting it in. So instead of getting their time, the guys in the pre-show dug too much time, which was not their job.
Right.
And these guys had to speed their match up a little bit, which in turn messed up a little bit of the structure that they put out there.
Sure, absolutely, man. So I guess, man, I think this is such just a cool thing, and I'm really looking forward to people sending us matches, man. And I know that we've done a couple other ones. that we're not sure. Do we harshly critique them? But I'm hoping that people see this one and go, hey, we're just trying to help, right? We're just trying to, and these are your own guys, and you could think like you could have just said, oh man, this was fantastic, but instead you go, hey, I would have done this differently, so hopefully that's a really good indication that's what we're trying to do. So we're just trying to help, but
Sure.
I'm thinking of other things that we want to do, right? We're trying to do the podcast and talk about wrestling topics. We're trying to do match critiques. And then something else that we had talked about is, hey, let's get some other people on the show. Let's ask them some questions. And we really don't want it to be the typical podcast that we hear from so many other people. Like, hey, it's John, and you're from this city, and hey, how long you been wrestling? Tell us your story. We're not going to do that stuff, right? We're going to get people on. Right, exactly. We're going to get people on here. We're going to talk about a topic, right, that we want them to weigh in on, right? We're going to have them jump on here, and it's not going to be interview, tell me who you are. We're going to have a topic, and they're going to jump in, and they're going to be the third member on the screen. And I think we could probably incorporate this as well. We could have match and another person jump on, but I'm pretty excited, man. Like I feel like we had like this list, like, hey, wouldn't it be cool to have this guy or this guy? We talked about Big Ugly. We talked about, some other guys. And I think one of the guys that kind of is a connection with you and with me is AJ Kirsch, right? So pretty excited. Like when we reached out to him, he was excited. But he was like one guy that I was like, maybe too busy or whatever, but he was one of the first guys that commented and sent me some feedback on our first podcast, right? Man, I really liked it. I enjoyed it. So informative. I learned some stuff, and it was kind of like shot in the dark. Hey, what do you think about being on there? And I'm thinking with his schedule, maybe he's too busy. Maybe it doesn't happen, but he ends up, he's going to be on our next episode. So talk a little bit about that. Episode number 6, how that's, maybe a little, just a quick, how you know this guy, why it's a good fit for this podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, on episode 6, we're talking about Joseph Bro Jody. Joseph Bro. Holy shit. AJ Kirsch. Joseph Bro Jody. I'm sorry, AJ, man. I fucking completely butchered it. I got 2 minutes left. Let me redeem myself. AJ Kirsch, man, an amazing guy, man. One of the guys that came out of the PCW work farm. One of my very first students that I personally put out myself. Went to WWE Tough Enough. Stone Cold Steve Austin called him Tumbleweed. He has been the host, which the name I butchered 1,000 fucking times there because it sounds so much, of Hood Slam for many years. He's a host of many wrestling shows. He's an unbelievable guy that does commentary. I mean, this guy does everything, man. He hosts segments at the Super Bowl. He's been on WWE doing voiceovers and character moves. And I just can't say enough about this guy who is just so humble and does nothing but put everybody over. He's one of the good ones, man. He's one of the good ones. And every time I even have a brief conversation with AJ, it's just amazing, man. He's another guy that has loves his family, man, and loves his mother and father. And I just honestly can't say enough good shit about this guy. And I'm gonna get to sit here and listen to him. The student is going to feed the teacher some knowledge. And you have 30 seconds here, Paul. You have a lot of history.
Exactly. Well, history, man. I mean, I remember him at PCW to start with, and I'm thinking like, how awesome is, he seemed like so far beyond his years, right? But I think the thing I like about him most is like the way that he grinds, man. He's just constantly doing something, bettering himself, like you said, putting over everybody, trying to better our wrestling community, man. So, as we bring this to a close, man, we're bringing on AJ Kirsch, and he's going to help us take this to the top so we can continue going over.
And if we're going to sit here with AJ Kirsch, I'm not going to make the mistake I made driving to Bakersfield one day, because I said, AJ, he put some Nickelback on. And I said, you know what, AJ, I would love, and I'm going to bring this up, I would love this whole 8-hour trip to Bakersfield for you to sing word for word every Nickelback song. And the motherfucker actually thought I was serious, and he sang word for word every Nickelback song. And I remember just sitting in the passenger seat going, I'm gonna rip my fucking head right off my shoulders, man. Great guy. This AJ Kirsch, episode 6. If you got matches, send them on over, man. Let us give you some real critique. If you got questions, we're gonna have a lot of guys on the show. We're not gonna have them on. We're not gonna have them on, and we're not gonna hear their whole story. You're gonna hear different topics. So we're just getting started, Paul. And I'll let you close out again, because this is going over.
See you next time.